Hello everyone, it's Jeff. Take two again. I keep getting phone calls when I'm making these videos and they keep interrupting me, so I have to keep starting over. So take two. I'm going to try and do this as quickly as I can. This is the second installment in my top 100 albums list. And it's the new year. It's my first video of the new year, and it is bitterly cold out here in Chicago. It was 11 degrees below zero Fahrenheit this morning as I was driving home. And it hasn't been this cold around here in a very, very long time. I'm desperately trying not to get sick. So, cheers everyone. Okay, we're going to just dive right in. And number 90 through number 81 are the albums that are going to be in this video. So we're going to start off with number 90. It's the third self-titled album by Peter Gabriel. This one is usually referred to as Milt because of his melting looking face on the cover. This album is where Peter Gabriel developed like the classic sound that he became known for and refined with subsequent albums. What's on this one? Games Without Frontiers, fantastic song that's on here. Biko is on here. No Self-Control is on here. He went in a little bit more of an electronic direction. He kind of got away from these standard rock tunes that made up most of his first two albums, and started incorporating some African beats into his music too. And like I said, that would get refined with subsequent albums. But I was mildly obsessed with Peter Gabriel for about a month or two. I owned So since it came out in '86. I bought that one new, but a couple of years ago I went back and I picked up the other self-titled albums. There were 4 of them, and I lived with them for a good long while, but this one is kind of my favorite here. The third self-titled Peter Gabriel album, called Milt. As a special bonus, I have a print featuring the, lots of reflection there, hope you can see it, featuring the color version of that album cover. There we go. Why do I own a print of the color version of this Peter Gabriel album? Well, someday I'm going to have a music room of my own, just like some of you do now, and I'm going to need stuff to put on the walls. Plus, I just like this picture. Just found it interesting. And I like it a lot better than the black and white version that made the album cover. So, that's why. I could go into the manipulation of the Polaroid photographs, how they made that picture by poking it and punching it and manipulating the ink to get that blurred effect, but we'll just keep moving on with the list. Number 89 is Abbey Road by the Beatles. As much as I sometimes listen to different eras of their music, this is always the album I come back to. Front to back, it's just a stone classic, and it features probably the best 2 songs that George contributed when he was in the Beatles. Side 2, the medleys that were on side 2 are just classic, and it's just so well produced and well played, and it's just so smooth that this is always the one I come back to whenever I think about listening to Beatles. And this one is it's an Apple label copy. I picked this one up at an estate sale. I already owned a purple Capitol label copy, which I bought in high school, but I always wanted an Apple label one, so I picked it up. It's not the best player, but yeah, iconic album cover. Everything about this album is iconic, so that's my number 89 album. Abbey Road by the Beatles. Number 88 is by a band called Hot Tuna. And this album is called Burgers. And Hot Tuna, for those of you that don't know, is a band made up of members of the Jefferson Airplane. Let me take this out of the bag. I've got a lot of glare here. Here we go, that's better. Jack Cassidy and Jorma Kaukonen were in the Jefferson Airplane, and they formed Hot Tuna in the late 60s when Jefferson Airplane morphed into Jefferson Starship. Those guys, I don't think, they didn't come along for the ride, so they formed their own band, and to describe the Hot Tuna sound is a little bit, it reminds me a lot, especially on this album, of Grateful Dead, kind of the American Beauty, Working Man's Dead era. That acoustic guitar, kind of jammy sound. And in fact, my favorite song by them is on this album. It's an instrumental called Water Song. If I don't know if that's probably available on YouTube. It's a great, beautiful acoustic instrumental. But yeah, Hot Tuna, they're pretty good. I discovered these guys recently, and I'll probably be delving into their albums a little bit more as time goes on. Cheers again, everyone. My mouth is getting dry. I'm trying to keep my voice going here. Okay, we are up to number 87. This is by Traffic. John Barleycorn Must Die. And this is probably the Traffic album that I played the most in my lifetime. It's only 6 songs, but every single one of them is a jewel. And this one is actually, I think this is an original copy. This is actually, it's got the gatefold here, the vertical gatefold. Here's the back cover. You can see the track list there. Originally, this album, if I remember my Traffic history correctly, was supposed to be a Steve Winwood solo album in 1970, 69, 70. And instead he reformed Traffic with a couple of guys from the band, and they made this album instead. It's a beautiful, beautiful album. And of course, the title track, John Barleycorn, is just a beautiful acoustic pastoral type of ballad sung by Steve Winwood, of course, who's got one of the all-time great voices ever, in my opinion. But I love Traffic, and I know they went a lot jazzier after this album, but this one is it's always the one that I usually reach for first if I'm thinking about Traffic. John Barleycorn Must Die, and that was number 87. Number 86 is let me explain number 86. My dad is 74 years old now, and he's the biggest Johnny Cash fan you're ever going to see. And growing up, I listened to a lot of Johnny Cash, so much so that it became enjoyable. It's not that I ever really hated it in the first place, but the old Johnny Cash from the 50s and early 60s is almost has more of a rockabilly feel to it on a lot of tracks. And I've got, well, my dad gave me all of his records a couple years ago, and a lot of them are Johnny Cash records. So number 86 is going to be Johnny Cash. This one here is called Songs of Our Soil. This is an original 6i Columbia copy, and I'll show that to you in a second. 5 Feet High and Rising is on this one. Clementine, The Great Speckled Bird, Don't Step on Mother's Roses. I mean, this is easily one of my favorite Johnny Cash albums. And this particular copy, here I'll just show you the back cover real quick. You can see all the all the tape. I did not put the tape on this. My dad did. And you can see his name written on the back there. If I could have told him something way back when, it was take care of your records, because it's a little bit of a heartbreaking shame to see a 6i like this one, and it's totally scratched up. I mean, you can play it, but this is more or less a showpiece. I listen to this stuff either digitally or on CD, but I had the album, so I wanted to show the album because it's an original one, and it's kind of a little dedication to my dad. Just because anytime I bought him an iPod when iPods were the new technology, and I loaded about 1,000 songs on there, and I swear about 900 of them were Johnny Cash songs. But just in the way that other albums and music rubbed off on me on my mom's side, this is really what rubbed off on me on my dad's side. This is about as country as I get. But Johnny Cash is one of the all-time greats, so there's really no going wrong with any of his albums. And that was number 86. Number 85 is by Richard and Linda Thompson. I don't think Richard Thompson gets near the acclaim that he should. He is a fantastic guitarist, fantastic musician. He's a great singer. He's got a great voice, and he writes just these perfect songs of love gone bad and pain. But they sound so nice. It's like, it's unbelievable. This is Linda on the back cover here. Pretty striking pictures for this one. Let's see. Probably probably one of the most beautiful love songs ever written is on this one. It's called "Dimming of the Day," and it's just a beautiful, beautiful song. But oh, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you the name of this album. It's called "Pour Down Like Silver." Sorry, this is number 85. Yeah, I love Richard Thompson, and I've got a lot of his albums, subsequent albums in the 90s on CD, but I have a few on vinyl, and this one is a really great listen. If you've never heard of Richard Thompson, give him a try. He's a very, 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 very good. And this is, like I said, number 85, "Pour Down Like Silver" by Richard and Linda Thompson. He went solo not too long after this one when they got divorced from Linda. Oh, and I should add that Richard Thompson was once a member of Fairport Convention, if that helps you with identifying him or hearing of him a little bit. If you've ever heard of Fairport Convention, he was a member of that group in their early days. Number 84 represents the closest thing to a Led Zeppelin reunion that I would probably ever come across in my lifetime, and I wish I would have seen these guys. This is Page and Plant, No Quarter. This is when they reunited in the mid-90s. I think it was like 94, 95. They reunited and did a tour and did an album. Although it's not totally in the vein of like an MTV Unplugged. A lot of these songs are acoustic. But I think my wife saw these guys in that tour, and I'm supremely jealous because I certainly would have loved to have seen these guys. But even, this just shows the songs on the back here. This is a double album. Even in the 90s, these guys still had it. I'm sure if they reunited today, they would still have it. And I was way too young to have seen Led Zeppelin in their prime, obviously. And I know the tickets for these were way out of my price range in the 90s when I probably could have afforded it if I attempted to, but I never did. Oh well. When I get that TARDIS, there's a lot of concerts I'll be going to in the past. This would easily be one of them. And this is number 84, Page and Plant, No Quarter. Classic album. Number 83 is by Ministry. This one's called With Sympathy. And no, this is not the industrial hardcore version of the band. You know, where you had albums like Psalm 69 and songs like Jesus Built My Hot Rod, which I heard endlessly from a previous relationship who was a monstrous Ministry fan. This was from their early period when they were more of a techno-pop dance band, for lack of a better term. And I like this album supremely better than I like the way the direction they took later. I know they probably hated this music when they did go industrial, but for me, Work for Love is just a classic early 80s synth pop dance song. And really, you can just play this whole album front to back and everyone will start dancing, I would think. And I know my wife loves this album too. It's fun to listen to. Ministry with Sympathy is number 83. Okay, we got two more. And number 82 is by Creedence Clearwater Revival. This one is Willie and the Poor Boys. I couldn't make this list without including at least one CCR album. And instead of doing greatest hits, I went with this one because this one almost is a greatest hits by itself. I mean, Down on the Corner, it's probably my favorite CCR song is on this one. Fortunate Son's on this one. They do the Midnight Special, which is a great, funky little track. I'll just show you the back cover here. Willie and the Poor Boys by CCR. I mean, these guys were hit machines in the late 60s. And rightfully so. I mean, this is just pure, straight ahead, good old American rock and roll. And John Fogerty's got, a great voice. He's a genius songwriter, and this is just a great album. Number 82, not Down on the Corner, Willie and the Poor Boys by Creedence Clearwater Revival. And speaking of albums that are greatest hits albums all on their own, is my number 81 album, the first Boston album. Really, this is pretty much the only album you need by Boston. I mean, I know they released several others, and there's decent songs like on the second album, which are kind of fitting the same mold. But honestly, this album is just front to back a stone classic. I mean, every single song, just about every single song was a hit, either a chart hit or it was played on the radio. Every single song is just impeccably played, and it's just like each song is just like a finely polished gem. Really, I mean, this one stands the test of time. I could put this one on any time, and it feels like it was recorded yesterday. Yeah, I mean, I've got this on vinyl, I've got this on CD, I've got this on my computer, my iPod. Really, any classic rock or hard rock list has got to have at least this album by Boston, their self-titled first album. And it's on my list at number 81. Okay, there you have it. That's 10 more albums. We're working our way up the list. I'm kind of lagging behind some of my cohorts who are doing their own lists, but with any luck, I'll be putting one out again this week, I hope, gonna have a few days off here midweek, and geez, there's a bunch of videos I'd like to make. There's all kinds of contests I need to enter. All right, I'll cut it off here. We're at 20 minutes. All right, good job. I'll see you guys again soon, and be counting down more albums soon. Peace, everyone.